Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to take the subject of judgment to a whole new level and see it from a completely different perspective. I'm going to explain to you how to stop judgment. We're going to talk about what judgment actually gets us and why 99% of our thoughts are in the direction of judging ourselves or other people. So, stay tuned. Now, what we're judging are things that we don't like within ourselves. Judgment is a reflection. What we see in the outside world, I can even tell you a golden rule. Any negative emotion that you might think you have is all about yourself. Anything that is a reflection that comes from the outside world, from a friend, from your partner, from your parents, from your president, from anything that you don't like is an expression of something that is happening within you, that is not yet complete, that is not yet healed. So you see it. You will only see the things that you don't like within yourself, in the outside world, because again, it's just a projection of your consciousness. And this will give you a hint to what you need to work on. You know, when you judge somebody else for having a big ego, for example, when you judge somebody else for not looking their best, when you're judging somebody else for the clothes that they wear, everything is about something that is happening within yourself. So when you're judging somebody else for not wearing the type of clothes that you think are good looking, that means that you're constantly thinking about the way that you're dressing up right now in order to please other people because you want to belong. So that's a fear-based mentality that you need to become aware of. When you fix that, you heal that completely, and then you become a hippie, you dress in whatever way that is comfortable for you, you will see that you don't care about what other people think about it. For example, this is just one of 1,000 examples that we can analyze, that you, when you will be spiritually mature enough, you become aware of all of those thoughts. You will ask yourself, where did that judgment come from? What type of belief system do I need to change? Where is it? What is the fear-based mentality that I had that belief that caused me to eventually judge that person or judge myself? And then you will heal that. You will heal the origin itself, not the bandage that you put on the judgment with acceptance and forgiveness to myself that I've judged. Yes. No. What is the origin? How can I heal that? And then I'm not solving one time, I'm solving all the times together. Now, I've talked about judgment many times. The beautiful metaphor that I like to use is that when we are judging somebody else, then there's one finger pointing at that other person, 3 fingers that are pointing back at me, and some people even say one finger that's pointing up to the creator himself or herself, however you want to call it. That means that I'm actually not believing that something as perfect as my life has happened to me, and I'm blaming and resisting reality itself. By doing that, I'm not accepting responsibility, and I'm not growing, maturing spiritually. Now, what you think, or most people think, that they're getting out of judgment is different than what we're actually getting out of judgment. What we think that we're actually getting is a sort of relief. In other words, we think that there's something that is troubling us on the inside, and we need to let it go to the outside. Or judgment in the form of criticism, or judgment in the form of gossip. So we're thinking that it's socially acceptable. We're thinking that it's okay to see other people, say to them, you know, whatever it is that we're thinking, criticizing them with the intonation of judgment, which is very different than positive intonation. For example, when I explain to one of my students about something that I think that they can improve, it's in my intonation that I'm not judging them, I'm giving them positive criticism in order for them to improve. So when we are judging other people, it's really in our intonation, the intonation that comes from the mind that is completely dual, that has a dual experience of there is good, there is bad, there is a way to live my life, and there's a way that is not to live my life. I'll give you an example. You go into an elevator with an obese person. Now, even though ever since the 70s, all the elevators now have mirrors, so people can feel comfortable with being with at least one person that they know and they like, because you know, you're going to be at least half a minute with somebody in a closed space, so that's why they put mirrors. So you come into an elevator, there's a fat person there. What thought comes through your mind? Is it a thought of this person has made bad life decisions, or is this elevator going to start falling down because of overweight, or you start telling yourself all these jokes, and you're not accepting the fact that this person might have an issue, emotional issue, that they really haven't begun to understand, or that this person needs to learn a specific lesson in his life, or this there's so many different ways of thinking instead of judging, or even understanding that everything is about a lack of love. In other words, this person needs love in his life, and if he would love himself, maybe he would treat his body differently, or maybe he's even sick. That's a good example about judgment. Now, when you think that when you're judging, you are expressing and relieving yourself, you're wrong. What judgment actually gets you is a dual expression, and again, the more dual you are in I'm having an opinion, or I know what good is, the more you are in the ego, the more you are in the 3D, and you're not moving to spirit, which is the 5D, which is the ascension itself. Now, you've probably noticed that when we're kids, we judge much more. But that's why in high school, there's groups of kids that kind of align or come together with their own similarities. And the jocks will judge, the dorks, and the pretty popular girls will judge everybody else, But the more we mature, we have less of that and more acceptance. And when we're talking about judgment and acceptance, we have to understand that they come together, okay? When you accept yourself as the loving, light worker, heart cell that you are in the body of God or creation of humanity, then you start accepting other people, and then you judge them less. When you start loving yourself, you judge yourself significantly less, and then you love other people, and then you judge them less as well. So they have to come together. In other words, if you want to learn how to love yourself, you will love yourself as you are. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't work on improving yourself. Everybody works on improving themselves, but put boundaries and limitations and from your expectations, because what you did until now is you thought that you motivate yourself by not accepting yourself, or by thinking about the negative things that you have done, or that you have not come to a certain degree, or that you have not pleased other people and stuff like that. I'm not saying neglect yourself by total acceptance of the person that you are right now, without understanding that you are constantly shifting and constantly moving different states. We are change, okay? We are growth. So when you let go of the expectation, for example, you tell yourself, oh, I want to lose 15 kilos or 20 pounds, and I have to start exercising, and you make that commitment that you're not going to do, you're not going to do that diet probably, you're not going to do that fast, you're not going to exercise a couple of times a week because you've tried it many times. Why don't start with smaller steps, with things that you can, gradually do? And then you won't have that big disappointment of yourself. The same thing with the character change. Why can't I be a more loving person? This is something that I ask myself every day. I know that I'm a mental person. I know that I'm using my mind much more than my heart. So I ask myself, why can't I be a more loving person? But I don't judge myself for not being a more loving person. I ask myself, how can I improve? How can I be better? And this is something that we should do. Ask yourself, with understanding that it doesn't have to happen, how can I really improve? How can I be better? And when you're talking about judgment, acceptance, and love, work on your self-acceptance in order for you to judge other people. It goes like this: self-acceptance as I am, and then less judgment for self, and then more love for self, and then more love for others and creation, and then less judgment for others, and then total acceptance of others. You see, it's acceptance of self, non-judgment of self, more love of self, and then more love of others, and then more acceptance of others and less judgment of others. Yeah, I did it in the right way. That's one thing that you should understand about the perspective of judgment, and why in this year it's so important, because most of the thoughts that are moving us from the being in our center, in the present moment, are about judgment. And I'm not talking about judgment to other people in their experience. I'm talking about judging the universe and our experiences as human beings. I'm talking about the type of judgment when we are resisting reality because we don't embrace it as it is. If we would have embraced reality as it is, we wouldn't ask ourselves, why did my baby keep me up all night? We wouldn't ask myself, why is this happening to me all the time? we wouldn't ask these questions. We would embrace them with a difficulty, understanding that and accepting responsibility that we are the ones that have chosen that for us. That this divine plan is for us, and we wanted to go through with it. So be happy about it. Even though it's a negative experience that we're going through, let's be happy about that negative experience, because it comes to teach us something. It has to come to teach us how we can be more of who we are. So one of the other things that happens when we judge is that we are deepening the experience of separation from others, because we're actually judging them for being something less than we are, or we're thinking that they're doing something that we wouldn't do ourselves. So we're continuing the separation experience instead of unity. And once again, the separateness is in the ego. The ego fear-based mentality that most of us have right now is about the separateness, and unity is in the 5D. So when we are judging, we're continuing the separateness instead of moving to the unity, which is the opposite direction of where we actually want to go, because our ascension is in front of us and not behind us. So that is my 2 cents on judgment. I hope that I've made myself clear. There's a lot of exercises you can do with judgment. What I personally like to do is, if I catch myself judging a situation or a person, then I immediately give them 2 compliments. One to rebalance that judgment that I gave, and another one to put me in the unity, moving towards the 5D in my ascension. And when you practice this enough, you start seeing that you're not really judging anybody anymore, and you're just accepting life as it is. And then life can be full of glory and high vibration, and manifestations occur by themselves with synchronicities, and the right people come into your life, and all of that blah 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 that you're already aware that can happen to you as well. So my friends, Namaste. Thank you very much for staying all the way to the end. If you enjoy this video, like it or share it, and come visit me in one of my intense 9-day workshops on raymaor.com. I'm coming to a country near you. Namaste, and I'll see you in my next video.